Town Manager Christopher Sr. Welcome to a special edition of Cohasset Common. On this edition, we'll be talking about special town meeting with two special guests, Maher, the chair of the Cohasset Select Board. Welcome, Ellen.
Thank you, Chris.
And Jeanne Astino, the chair of the Cohasset Advisory Committee.
Thank you.
Welcome, Jeanne. So this is, it's hard to believe that time of year is coming around again, right? At town meeting, November 3rd at 7 p.m. at the gymnasium at the middle high school. So everyone knows where that is, up in the back. Park in the front, get there early. So there's 12 articles, and we'll just jump right in, right? People have been working on this for months. We've been talking about this for months and months. So lots of information on the website. I'll start with that. In the intro, there's a little QR code. If you have this at home and you want to just scan your phone to that little QR code right there, and you'll jump right to the town meeting webpage. There's plenty of links. There's plenty of information. You'll watch all the committee meetings, Select Board, Advisory Committee, and Capital, and others. So the first article is pretty simple. It's the creation of a revolving fund for the Cohasset community market. The town ended up picking this up after some longtime volunteers said, thank you, we're retiring, and the town stepped in. And while we'd really love to have volunteers from the community, so if anyone's interested, contact my office and we'll connect you with the group that's helping run it. We need to set up a revolving fund to pay the expenses. It's truly just an accounting mechanism so that the revenues that come in from the vendors and others will go into a fund that'll just pay for the expenses of the market, the cleanup and all of that. So, and both committees looked at it and everything was good.
I think it's awesome, Chris, how you and your staff saved what is a true community event every Thursday with a farmer's market. I think people would have been a little sad to see it go. So thank you to you and Cassandra, the town planner, for taking it on.
It was a great event. It was a great effort.
I agree, and I think that the change in the hours and everything is great for working folks. I always have trouble getting to the farmers market, so I'm happy to plan for next year.
So Article 1 is the creation of a revolving fund, and that was recommended unanimously by both the Select Board and the Advisory Committee. That's Article 1. Article 2 is unpaid bills of prior years. We have not had this article active on the warrant. It's always on the warrant, but we haven't actually had unpaid bills for a while. So unfortunately, we have several of them, the good news is we have a new town accountant. She's phenomenal, and she's just trying to keep everything cleaned up. So one of these actually came in even just a couple of weeks ago. It was a vendor who should have given us a long time ago, said they went over the bills, and they got us a bill a couple of weeks ago. So sometimes that happens. It shouldn't. These have all been vetted. They need to be paid, and both committees have recommended payment. So. So it's just a regular, it's regularly on the warrant. Hopefully we won't have this many again. Apologies for that. That said, they are legitimate bills, have all been vetted, and they do need to be paid. So that's Article 2, bills of prior year. Article 3, the stabilization funds. This is the town's annual contribution, fall contribution to the OPEB Trust Fund, plus. At the spring, there was a deferral just because of the circumstances with the school budget and all to make sure we had enough money. So we count all the way up. So this actually brings the town's contribution for FY26 to it's the full amount in the policy.
Right. And I think that the OPEB committee, was okay with that strategy. They understood why town meeting had to be a little bit less than normal, and we held to our word that we would take care of it in the fall.
And so the town's right on track. We're doing all the right things on OPEB. So again, this is transfer free cash into the OPEB Trust Fund for future retiree medical benefits. Again, both committees recommended unanimously. Capital 4, there's a couple of capital improvement projects, two for the enterprise funds, one for water, one for sewer. The sewer one is a phase 2 of an asset management plan. Phase 1 was funded last year. This is phase 2. This will be the field infrastructure, the pipes and the pumping stations. Phase 1 was the plant itself. And water, this is also it's not on site, it's where they have the lagoon. The water in town has manganese and iron, which is pulled out, and it's not toxic or anything, but it has to be collected, and it's in this kind of lagoon, and it has to be shipped away. So they want to do some work to improve that operation, to make it smoother and less expensive. So those are the two enterprise funds. The capital, the two on the town side, one involves some improvements to the highway yard. There's drains in the garage, and they've during a routine inspection discovered they really were pretty badly eroded, and they're there to catch any runoff from the trucks, oil and salt and all kinds of things, so it doesn't get into the groundwater. So those need to be replaced, and it just made sense to do it now before the winter. And then the other one is a repurposing of an electric bus lease that was approved back in the spring, didn't get spent. For a variety of reasons, the electric bus has been returned. The program, unfortunately, the company that built it had a series of issues. And so the schools are like, we'd like a bus. Can we have a diesel instead? And this repurposes that money actually for less cost than the original lease. So.
Great. So I think it's interesting to note that on Section A, the enterprise fund, this means that this doesn't come out of higher taxes or out of the capital stabilization fund. And this is one of the benefits of having an enterprise fund, which we've all enjoyed for water and sewer for years, and that they're able to use their own retained earnings for their maintenance and their upkeep.
And again, both committees, or I shouldn't say both committees, 5 committees reviewed this, right? So Select Board, Advisory, Water voted on their piece, Sewer voted on their piece, and the schools also opined on the bus lease. So unanimous all around. So 4 projects, small but very important. So that's Article 4. Article 5 actually is kind of exciting. So town meeting a year ago approved funding for the as the town was accepted for the first time into the Massachusetts School Building Authority accelerated repair program for things like roofs and windows. In this case, it was the Osgood roof, and the town approved funding for the feasibility study, which has not been complete. And this actually, that's the number in here is the max amount that MSBA has said is the cost. We're hoping when the bids are all done, it'll come in less than that. And the MSBA is going to be giving the town back just less, like a tiny fraction less than a third. So the town will be getting a third of the cost reimbursed. So it was a very exciting project.
Very exciting, and this goes back to 2 years ago where we, at special town meeting, authorized school stabilization fund so that we could accumulate funds to help support this. And again, it's not additional taxes on the taxpayer. And getting into the MSBA is something many of our neighbors have been able to do over the years. And it's very exciting to see Cohasset get in for the first time for the Osgood roof. It's probably not quite at end of life, but getting there. And this makes sure that the building stays intact and that there's no damage from leaky roofs or anything like that. And we're very excited to work with the MSBA on this program.
This is great. When I was on the school committee, we talked about the roofs at every meeting, practically. And we knew that they were going to be at end of life pretty soon. The building authority and the criteria for the replacements kept getting pushed and pushed and pushed so that the roofs would be older by the time they were fixed. So this is exciting that we're finally seeing some movement on that and that we've been approved.
And as Ellen was pointing out, this is going to be fully funded by the Special Stabilization Fund that the taxpayers voted for 2 years ago. So it's really bearing fruit. And the town's facilities department has been at the lead in helping with the MSB to assess all this. So it's really been a great collaborative project, and I think everyone's very excited. So again, a whole series of unanimous votes recommending the town meeting approve this. The town meeting will be approving borrowing. We hope not to have to borrow. We might have to borrow for a little period of time until the money from next year's, because it'll happen next summer. It'll happen in the summer of 26. But we can't actually spend next year's school stabilization money until town meeting authorizes it in the fall. So there may be a little bit of a window. We'll see how the project payment timing is. But it'll all be paid for by the stabilization fund. So it's going to be a great first big use of that project.
That's great.
So that's Article 5. Article 6, that's the creation of an enterprise fund for the recycling transfer facility. The RTF is where people come and drop off their recycling and their composting and their regular household garbage. What this basically is an accounting tool, just like as you were referencing before, Ellen. It allows the money that's collected to stay in the fund. It kind of takes it off the budget and sets it up as its own budget. Operationally, it'll stay the same. It'll be part of Public Works, and the Select Board will continue, as it always has, to handle regulations and fees. There's not going to be a separate board. There's no reason to have a separate board. But the Select Board is going to, we can talk about this in a minute, how you're going to set up a little advisory group. So it really is a way to make the operation really run as a business. That was the whole point of this.
Right. And we'll be prepared at special town meeting to show, the P&L on this. And so the Select Board, listened. We had 2 forums, very well-attended forums, earlier, late summer, early fall. And people had a lot of really good questions, asking what an enterprise fund, how does it work? And we took some of their thoughts into our plan. And with Mr. Farag, who's on the select board, we're going to set up a working group to kind of monitor it for the first year or two, to present to the town the financials every quarter, to say, okay, this is working, or this isn't working, and to really get feedback from citizens. We're going to have a couple of citizens on it. He'll probably be announcing it at special town meeting and looking for volunteers. But it really is probably one of the most transparent ways to monitor the finances of an entity, and this entity is perfect for it because it's pretty singular use. People go to the RTF to do what you said, get rid of their garbage, and all of that. So it's a very clean financial instrument. We did vote our fees. We did vote them several weeks ago for new bag fees, new bulky waste disposal fees, and new sticker fees, which will be like we have now, all facility fees for the RTF and parking at the various places around town that require a permit. And those fees we voted on were based on the creation of an enterprise fund, so that all of that revenue will go into the RTF. And that's kind of the beauty of an enterprise fund. So we hope that people continue to ask us questions, call us. If you still have questions, I think, Mr. Senior, we have some FAQs up on the website. Ask us questions between now and town meeting if you have any concerns or any additional thoughts about what this really means. We're all happy. Call any advisory board member, any select board member, or Mr. Senior's office, and we'll answer your questions for you.
I'm actually excited about this. I wasn't quite sure at the beginning when we first started speaking about it, but just like the water and sewer enterprise funds, this takes it out of the tax base, and it allows people to control the costs without having to constantly feel like they're raising the taxes because it's included in the town budget. I think that it's a very cost-effective way to handle it. Surrounding towns have enterprise groups, and they work very well. Our next-door neighbors have one, and everybody raves about that facility. So I think that it's a great initiative. And I'm very happy to say that some of the fees are outlined in the warrant. So if you have any questions about it when you get the warrant, just definitely look through, make sure you pay attention. Nobody likes it when costs go up, but this is actually pretty cost effective.
So as Jeanne was just referencing on pages 15 and 16, you'll see there's an appendix which gives basic information about what the RTF's all about and the fee structure, which again is not being set by town meeting. The select board does that, and it's already set that. Now, with hope that with this going through, we'll keep the cost down. That's one of the key points of this. Another is that, as Ellen was referencing before with the water and sewer funds, revenue, if there's any excess revenue, it can go right back into improvements, and that's the fire. Which was unfortunate, has actually led to some good improvements. That said, we have more to go, and we're going to want to continue streamline the place, make it safer and more efficient, to keep it safe, I should say, and make it more efficient as we go. And that's going to require more resources. And if it doesn't have to come out of the capital stabilization fund, it's great, right? And it makes sense, right? You're paying to get rid of garbage. It should be that way. And one of the other key things that you pointed out too was that it's still one sticker, right? People didn't want to have multiple stickers. Before, the money was just kind of going into the general fund and disappearing. Now it's just going to go right into the RTF. That said, because the sticker requires town residency proof, that's the reason everything's installed in one umbrella too. So it's not so much the beach sticker per se is going up, and having them separate again was kind of making it very complicated. It's still the same process. The funds are now just being earmarked right to the RTF.
Right.
So
we talked about that extensively too. One sticker, two sticker, get a placard, so you can shift the placard around from car to car, and then pretty soon it would be from neighbor to neighbor, and then town to town. We'd have placards floating all around. So there was a lot of thought and scenarios outlined, debated, deliberated on different ways, to accomplish this with a sticker, and it was determined that one would be the best.
yeah, there's more information on the town's website. You can watch the recordings of both of those public forums, and also there was lots of select board conversations, as FAQs. Again, if anyone has any questions, you have trouble finding the information, reach out to my office and we'll link you right up. So it's Article 6. Both the advisory committee and select board voted unanimously to recommend this to town meeting. So that's all teed up for November 3rd. Article 7 are amendments to the 26 operating budget, and there's a few of them in here. I'll walk through them quickly, and if you want to interject, just stop me. The first is money that's coming back actually from the sewer department. They had a bill that didn't get paid, and we had to pay it, and we ended up using free cash to pay it, and we would have been able to use their retained earnings, but it was already after town meeting by the time they realized it. So they're paying us back. So that money is now going to come right back in and go into the DPW, where it's going to pay for a couple of lines that are kind of associated with setting up the RTF. It's the hazardous waste collection and landfill gas monitoring, things that are not part of the day-to-day RTF operations, but part of the regular DPW. So the money will just slide back in there. And again, it's not new taxes, it's money we're getting back. The paper throw bags. So one of the things that we built the budget without the paper bag fees that were going to be going into the enterprise fund, and after that didn't quite happen, it's left both a deficit in the budget that has to be filled and also this revenue that wasn't accounted for. So we're going to appropriate that revenue and then put it into paying the bills for the last few months, with the expectation the enterprise fund will start on January 1. That's what will happen with Article 6. So that's just, again, it's just taking revenue that wasn't anticipated in the budget and putting it to expenses we actually have for the RTF. The third is, again, another one of these kind of, this is the IT department working really hard. They get something called E-rate, and they're able to maximize return on the IT equipment. They're able to get better rates. And it's a long process, and this is almost $33,000 coming back. And we had to trim their hardware budget. So what they do is they replace equipment at the schools and the town, laptops and things like that, and we trimmed it. So instead of going to capital, they try to replace those things regularly. So this will go back into their budget for hardware upgrades, and the schools need some laptops, and there's scattered ones during the course of the year. So this is more for staff than students, but it supports everything. So that's what that is. And again, no new taxes. It's just money coming back, and we're putting it right to use. The PG that if you watch 143 TV, which hopefully you're doing, right? Because we're on it now, on Comcast or Verizon, the revenue that comes in, what the town gets and sends right back out to 143 TV. So this is just the transfer. It's a little bit of money left over from last fall, and it's a little bit more than $162,000. That goes to fund the great work done at 143 TV. So we did a borrowing, that's the 0.5 here. It came after town meeting, it was a little bit bigger than usual. So this is just paying the interest cost on that. It'll be built into the budget going forward, but this is just, we always have a little bit here. It's a little bit bigger than normal, but because the borrowing is a little bit bigger, but it's routine. One little bit, again, this is almost like a little bit of a cleanup, right? $4,000. The expense spreadsheets worked out great on capital stabilization, but the spending didn't. So the revenue coming back in didn't. So we need $4,000 from the capital stabilization fund. It's a tiny amount of money, but the accountant was like, just do it now, get it done, right? Everyone's fine. It was supposed to have been done this spring. There was just a $4,000 miss. So it'll just pay that interest. It's already been budgeted. Water has the next two items. This is retained earnings. This is their version of free cash, money they've accumulated. They spent some money on engineering fees for a project that's gotten more expensive this fall than they had anticipated. They'd rather not run out of money before the end of the year, which totally understands. And the same thing, and that's involved with the extraordinary maintenance. They've done some additional work on some projects, and they want to make sure that money's still there. So they have the ability to pull it out of retained earnings right now. And if they don't spend it, it'll just go back into retained earnings. So that's a very fiscally responsible move. Number 9 is so if the RTF is not approved, we have to cover the rest of the year's budget. So in order to do that, the select board will have to take another look at fees, and then this will be appropriating that money, which again had not been included in the budget, to pay the rest of the budget. That's a fail-safe. So this is the option B, I guess, of the ripcord in case of emergencies. Hopefully Article 6 will pass, will be fine. If it doesn't, this has to happen because we have to pay the bills for the rest of the year. Right. So that's that. Anything you want to add on any of these?
No, you did a great job.
Thanks for the explanation.
And again, so select board, advisory, even water have recommended all of these unanimously. So that's Article 7. Article 8, we have these every year. These are just one-time cost items that are happening one time. I probably could call it something cooler, but that's just what it's always been. So the project 1, the town clerk wants to upgrade their all facilities module. They want to do something different. They're going to come and present to the select board. This is the money that would allow that to happen. The the annual operating fee will come in their budget, in the clerk's budget, but this would be a new software that allow people to have a smoother online experience, which is great.
And we're doing it now because new stickers will be coming out in March, so before the next appropriation.
Correct. This is just to get that whole system in place, so it makes it smoother and easier. There was some water. There was a water problem at the high school electric room. Not a great place to have a water problem. Facilities went in, discovered that there was old, not quite tied up plumbing work from 25 years ago with drainage. They got in there, they brought in some contractors. To make a long story short, it's been great. Even with the heavy rains, we actually just finished a heavy rain the day we filmed this. It's been dry as a bone, which is great. It cost about $96,000. So we were going to go advisory and get the money, but since town meeting's already here, we might as well just get it through this. So that's repairs that have already happened, really important and well done. So the next is money for a consultant for the Cohasset Village Historic District Study Committee, big mouthful. The town has a historic district around the common. This is to study a new district in the village itself, the business district. And this will pay for the first couple of phases of that. And the select board voted to create this committee.
Yeah, we voted actually in the summer of '24, I believe, and then we charged the committee this past summer. And so it'll be very interesting to see what they come up with in terms of, you know, the village, and where we all have an idea of where we think the village is. Where are they going to define where the village begins and ends, and what's going to go into it? So we told them at the time that we weren't sure we could support, you know, financially this initiative, and I'm very glad that you found some funding to help them get through this.
And depending on how that work goes over the winter, we'll see. They may come back in the spring for the next phase, but we'll have to see where it goes. But they needed this, and they couldn't get CPC money, if anyone's asking, Community Preservation Committee, because you can only do that to preserve, not to study historical resources. So this is a study. So the last one, as I think everyone knows who goes to Sandy Beach, there was a couple of plovers that have come back and forth the last couple of years. We're now apparently, from a meeting I was just on this past week, we're going to be on a state list of preferred habitat. Not terribly excited about that, but it's a beach.
And we'll be sending out messages to all the plovers that it's safe to come to
They're going to be
Cohasset.
saying, yeah, we got a deal, everybody. Great waterfront land. So what it does mean, though, is we have to be prepared for the plover management. And this is going to just set aside a little bit of money if we have to bring in Mass Audubon, which we're going to have to do some consulting, particularly if we have, with the special events, we have the triathlon, we have the fireworks. Those are the ones that particularly require more intense observation and protection of the plovers. Sandy Beach worked very cooperatively, the Sandy Beach Association with the state last year. And again, the beach is private. I mean, it's a private trust, open to the public, but it's a private trust. The parking lot's the town. The plovers nest on the beach, but we're partners, so we have to participate. And the events are typically town events. The day-to-day management is the beaches. So that's providing money, which will pay Mass Audubon and other things we need. And we had to put some fencing up last year, so it's for those kinds of expenses. If we need to make this a regular part of the budget, we'll start doing that next year. So that's Article 8. Again, both Select Board and Advisory Committee recommended unanimously. Article 8. Article 9. This is a warrant of important things, but it's kind of a potpourri of things, right? This is allowing on-premises wine and malt licenses to be traded in for all alcohol. And what that means, the town has only a limited number of licenses for on-premises. That's for restaurants mostly. But restaurants, the Legion, a few places like that, right? The clubs and restaurants. And we're out of them right now. So we've actually applied for 5, and they're in the process. So fingers crossed, we'll hear this winter that they've approved it. It's gone through one committee successfully, which is good. This, though, the state did for everybody. And what it allows is if somebody has a wine and malt, which is beer and wine, they could come to the select board or the licensing authority, which in this case is the select board, and say, hey, we'd like to upgrade to an all alcohol. And if the select board says yes, they have an all alcohol license until they surrender it, or it disappears for whatever reason. But it can't be transferred. So it's only for the life of that particular restaurant. So if Jeanne has a restaurant, she's like, I want to go to all alcohol, and then Ellen buys it, it reverts back to beer and wine. And all this does is allow the select board the option. By town meeting adopting this law, it gives the select board the authority. It doesn't mean it has to happen, but it just becomes an option.
Right, and it doesn't change the total number of on-premise licenses that we have. we just have one more all alcohol and one less wine and malt.
Every time it's transferred. Yeah, we have 4 of these. So the theoretically could all, if the owners of, I should say, the license holders, wanted to upgrade, they could come to the board. But they wouldn't. We wouldn't have any more licenses. That would still be right. And they would revert back to again wine and malt at the end. So everyone's recommended that unanimously as well. Article 10 is another one of these local adoptions. This is how a lot of state laws work, by the way. The state gives you the authority if you adopt it at the local level. So this would formally set up unpaid sewer bills in the same manner that water bills are. The town has basically been piggybacking sewer bills on water bills because that's how we manage them anyway. Council said, you probably should adopt a sectional law too, just to be clean. The water goes back to the 90s, so we've been doing it this way for a long time. That said, they said, you should just get this done next time you have a town meeting. So this would, again, just formalize the process that we already have. So if somebody doesn't pay their sewer bill, it becomes a lien on the property. So, and again, everyone's recommended that unanimously. So that's Article 10. Article 11. So this is authorizing the lease of school property, which is basically the roofs for solar generating facilities. And this was done even before I got here, I think.
We were on the school committee.
2010, I started attending the Alternative Energy Committee meetings, and we actually had approved the siting, and then we found that the roofs were too old. And we tried to do a workaround. It didn't really work out. So we were all disappointed about it, but now we're excited because we're going to have a new roof on the Osgood School. So it may be a possibility. And this just allows us to do that, to potentially lease the roof for solar installation.
Right, it doesn't mandate, it's just a necessary precursor to that, right?
Right. We have to have permission to do these things.
And again, whether or not it's even economically viable for this is to allow a third party to lease and set it up, kind of like we have at the town landfill.
Right.
The schools could always authorize solar power on that roof by themselves, and they would own it. That's obviously a little more expensive. The theory of having someone else do it is so. And again, we'll see how things work. I mean, things are changing at the federal level. Or at the state level. We'll see what happens. And we're waiting for the school committee. I think the school committee is meeting the week that we film this to actually finally vet this.
Okay.
So by the time we get to town meeting, there'll be recommendations, I think, on all of this. But it's not terribly controversial. It's just a process thing. So, all right,
It's just kind of renewing the previous vote.
we're correct. Yeah, there was
Which had no expiration date, but it's good to keep it top of mind.
Yes, and again, I think this is more of I hate to call it belts and suspenders, but I think that's what the Alternative Energy Committee is like. Let's just make sure that we're safe, because the roof will be new. The Osgood roof will be new, right? And Article 12 is a citizens petition. You can read more about it. The proponents are looking to take $300,000 and put it into the schools for free all-day kindergarten. Right now, half-day kindergarten is free, and if you want the full day, you have to pay a fee, and that's been like that for a long time, I believe, except for the last couple of years.
Yeah, it's really afternoon kindergarten, because the state mandates half-day. So that's incorporated into the school budget anyway. So it's really afternoon kindergarten that when it came about, it was tuition-based. And we did have a 2-year blip where we had a one-time free cash allotment to fund it. And then the math for Chapter 70 funding just didn't work out in the school budget. And through a lot of hard decisions, the school committee in the spring of '25 for FY26 budget had to make some really tough choices. And so they implemented, reinstituted, tuition for afternoon kindergarten sessions.
So at this point, the advisory committee has voted not to recommend this to town meeting. The school committee has voted not to recommend this to town meeting. Select board hadn't voted yet because neither advisory.
Yeah.
I guess you'll vote at your next meeting, which will be before town meeting.
Right.
And there's one other twist to this that will be discussed on town meeting floor is that even though town meeting can't appropriate money, the school committee can't be told what to do with it. So it's one of these things that when you adopt a school budget, you're adopting a bottom line number. The school committee has the authority to move it wherever it wants.
Move the funds around.
Yeah, so the town meeting can't mandate where the money goes. I don't think most people realize that, but that's state law, and it's always been. So, so that's that petition. You can most certainly see there's been discussions in front of advisory and in front of capital budget in front of the school committee, so people can most certainly view those. And the more information is right there in the warrant. that is 12 articles, and that is a special town meeting warrant. So anything you want to wrap up or highlight?
You know, I don't know if it's appropriate at this point, but maybe to talk about why we pulled the 135 King Street off special town meeting, because it had been, you know, the centerpiece of this warrant, you know, in our plans and our strategies. And after viewing the joint meeting of capital budgets and advisory and hearing our colleagues really talk about some questions and things like that, to use my colleague, Mr. Farag's expression, we don't think it's ready for prime time. So it isn't a lack of belief in the project itself. The project is moving forward. In fact, that group met today. They'll probably be meeting every single week. It's an expanded group. It has more citizens on it. It's going to have a representative from Capital and from Advisory on it, really to bring those perspectives and viewpoints and to us. And whether we come out with a less expensive project or not, at least every question will be answered, and we'll feel very, very strongly about the financial requests that we'll be making of the town.
So there's going to be a lot more public conversation about this.
Right.
As the process unfolded, there were more questions than answers, because when you put together a project like this, sometimes money shifts where it has to be moved to, for lack of a better explanation. That's kind of not a great explanation, but if it involves one thing, it needs this set of criteria. If it just becomes a police station, then it doesn't require certain other pieces of the budget. So we just want to make sure that we are really crossing all the T's and dotting all the I's before we bring this to the town to have them vote on it.
And there has been a lot of public conversation, but there's going to be a whole lot more. So
Right.
Beyond the Outlook, there'll be public forums. There's more information on the website. And there'll be more conversations at Advisory, Capital, and Select Board meetings over the next few months. And I think the plan is to have something come up in the new year, right? Something in 26. So, so be paying attention. There'll be more coming. That is the warrant. So thank you, Ellen. Thank you, Jeanne, for joining us. This is you should have this in your mailbox. If you don't, it's on the website. You can download it. Please bring it with you.
I got mine Saturday.
There you go. So,
I didn't get mine yet.
check your mail. Check your mail.
So don't be worried.
Bring this with you, please, to town meeting. There is childcare available. You can see there's a little form. You can find out more about that. And if you've never been to a town meeting, you can read more about them or watch some of the old ones. Those are also on YouTube, the town's YouTube channel. 12 articles, really important. So it's Monday, November 3rd. That's 2 weeks from actually when we filmed this. And it'll be at the Sullivan Gym. That's in the back of the middle high school. Plenty of parking in the front. You can walk around the back. There's some handicap parking in the back if you need it. And there's an elevator if you need to get up the stairs, because it's on the second floor in the back if you haven't been back there. Please, we need everyone to come out. It's really important. We need a minimum number of voters, obviously, to make the whole thing work. It's a great opportunity to actually make Cohasset happen. That's one of the great things about town meeting. People, it's not just going to vote the ballot box. You come, you get to hear things, you get to talk, you get to get explanations, ask questions. But beforehand, read this, look at the town's website. If you have any questions, call my office, call the board members. I'll be happy to answer. Thank you, Jeanne. Thank you, Ellen. And thank you, all of you. We'll see you at town meeting November 3rd.